Hello scrappers and planet lovers, Tin Man here with another video. So some of the most common questions I continue to get from beginner scrappers about copper wire is 1. Should I buy a wire stripper? 2. Should I strip all of my copper wire to get clean copper price? And 3. How much money can I actually make from stripping copper wire? So I'm going to answer the first 2 questions in a minute. There are a lot of factors that come into play to answer those 2. But the third question, I want to answer it using a sort of an experiment that I just finished. I recently acquired a huge bundle of Romex wire from a job site. Romex wire is your household wire that goes through the walls to your electrical outlets and your panel box. It usually comes in white. There are different colors and different size gauges, but this has an outer coating of plastic. Inside the middle is a clean wire, copper wire, and on the outsides there are 2 coated copper wires. So for this experiment, what I did was remove the outer coating and the clean wire. I was left with the black and white coated wire, and what I did was for two half-an-hour wire stripping sessions, I wanted to see how much wire I could strip in each half-an-hour interval. So this is the clean wire that came out of my first half an hour. This spool came from my second half an hour. Putting it together, gonna factor in how much I can make per hour, and then I can times it by 8 to see how much I would make if it was an 8-hour workday. So gonna share the results for that with that in a second, but I do wanna go ahead and answer the first question I got. Should I buy a wire stripper? The answer, in my opinion, is depends on the amount of wire you have and the type of wire you have. As you can see, I do have a wire stripper. This is a Stripmeister. It's a basic model. It's drill powered. It cost about $199 2.5 years ago. And that is a lot of money, but this thing has saved me many, many hours from hand stripping it. And it has also paid for itself many times over because I do get a lot of thicker gauge copper wire, and those wires are worth stripping. There are some wire strippers that are worth a lot less in value. You can get some that are hand cranked, and there are some that are more expensive than this. There are some that are electric, some that are more industrial size and huge, depending on your job and your scrapping needs. But again, it does depend on you. If you are the type that only gets a little bit of thicker gauge wire, it may not be in your best interest. You might be looking at maybe a hand wire stripper. So it does depend on you. So that does answer hopefully that question. I do want to say some positives about this. As you can see, there is some different holes. It is very easy to use. This just raises and lowers the cutting deck. This adjusts the holes to the right size depending on the thickness of my wire. This large one here that I'm putting my finger through, that is something that's come in handy with 1S wire. That is the wire you will see at new subdivisions. It's the aluminum wires that are by the road. They hook up to your meter. So you do find sometimes little cut-off ends of those in dumpsters. So that is great for me. This wire for this experiment, I was able to fit it through the small hole here. So it was beneficial. It was very useful because if I was to hand strip this wire, I'd probably still be doing it now. So that is one advantage. It definitely speeds up the time if you have the right material. So hopefully that answered that. And with that question, I can also go right into my second question. Does all wire need to be stripped? There are some scrappers that will strip all wire, and copper wire comes in all different forms. You'll find it in households, you'll find it in different power cords, vacuum cleaners, lamps, extension cords, Christmas lights, and all of it does have copper in it and different value. In my opinion, there are some cords like dehumidifiers, vacuum cleaners, microwaves. You will actually, in my opinion, lose value if you go ahead and remove the outer coating of plastic, okay? And there are 2 different categories at a scrapyard for appliance wire. You have 40% appliance wire and 60%. Because vacuum cleaners and microwaves have the outer coating of plastic and the 2 or 3 inner strands of copper coated wire. There is higher plastic there, so those will be your 40%. And if you ever see inside those, it is a very thick chunk of plastic. And by removing that, yes, you are upping the value of your copper wire, but you are significantly reducing the amount of weight. And it could also affect not only your time, but your profit. And what I will include in my description is the link to another video I have whereby I've done a huge experiment looking at all different types of wire, not only household, but extension cords, different smaller gauge items. I compare the price of stripped and unstripped to see if it is worth your time and value. So I will, as I said, include that link in my description. So if you're interested, go check that out. And the thing about this wire stripper is even some of the wire that I got out of that job site, I cannot actually fit in here. Okay, so there are a lot of different wires, and I will also include in my description another video whereby I go and separate all the different wires that you will have in order to help you maximize your profit, because unfortunately some of those are worth a lot more than others, and if you have it all together, you are going to be paid the lowest price. So it does pay to separate it, especially when you are scrapping. Don't wait till the night before you go to the scrapyard to sort it, but you definitely also want to know the value of your wire. So as I said, I will include in my description how to classify that. Okay, so as you can see here, this is actually the box of the rest of the pile that I got from that job site. Lots of different wire. I have tons of Romex and different colors of Romex. I have some LVT wire. This is your brown wire that you will see hooked up to your furnace. And this stuff, one mention with the wire stripper is I could put this through the wire stripper. It will remove the outer coating. But unfortunately, inside there are 3 strands of copper wire, and those will not actually touch the blade. So that is unfortunate. But I am going to want to strip that because it is a nicer gauge wire. So that is definitely a con with that wire stripper. I will have to find other means to remove the coating on that. Okay. There is also some other items here, Cat 5, Cat 4, different wire you'll find in your house. And as mentioned, there are different power cords that people find as well. So lots of different wire. For this experiment, going into how much money I can make from scrapping, again, there are a lot of factors. If I was to take this box and strip all of this to see how much of this I would make in profit, the first thing I'm going to do is have to sort it, because the last thing I want to do is spend time raising and lowering the cutting deck to make sure I have the proper gauge. That does take a lot of time. So that is one factor I will have to put into consideration with wire stripping. All of this stuff you see here was the same gauge. So once I set my cutting deck, it was straight through, it was easy, so I was able to maximize my time. The other drawback I will mention with this is I have a drill that is battery operated. Unfortunately, about 3/4 of the way through, the battery died, so I had to stop the timer, stop the experiment, plug it in, make sure it was recharged before I went again. So having an electric drill, probably more power, and you don't have to worry about recharging the battery. So there's a couple things I had to do with my experiment. As well, I do want to mention, because these are tail end pieces of wire, there were different sizes, okay? And when it comes to Romex, I will do the whole thing. I don't care even if there's a small piece of Romex. And this is just something I wanted to show. This did not come in from the experiment, but these are all small pieces of Romex that I find in dumpsters. There is almost a pound here. So for me, it is worth throwing through my wire stripper. I don't like to leave any of this behind because this is a good price right now. Okay, so again, some great wire here for this experiment, 2 half-an-hour intervals. And before I begin or tell my results, I am going to do a quick little demonstration with this wire stripper. I'm going to put a minute on the clock, show you how much of this wire I can get through. So just bear with me here. Again, setup is the hardest, making sure that your cutting deck is at the right height. I always use a C-clamp just to keep it in place. The other thing, I have to put a small or a couple books to raise it, just so it makes the drill at level so I don't have to actually hold it. But just going to tighten it in place here. Okay, going to first set the clock. I've already set the cutting deck, but again, going to put a minute on here, see how much of this I can get through. Here we go. So, all right, put on some safety glasses. There it goes. So let's see, make sure it's at the right cutting deck. There it is, good. All right. And obviously, taking some time to have to bend over. I did this experiment. I had the wire right beside me, but cutting through pretty easy. Okay, if it was a whole strand of Romex, it'd be a lot quicker for sure. I could just turn on the button and go. Some of the wire is bent because of the size. If there's a knot in it, it does slow it down. What's that? 16 seconds left. Here we go. All right, that's a minute. So here we go. Pause, cancel. Okay, so easy to do for sure. Having a wire stripper, nice to be able to sort through that, clean it up. Okay, be able to get this wire, again, easy to come out, just folds. Look at that, beautiful wire. So, moment of truth, how much is this wire worth? This will be classified as bare bright copper, and currently in London, Ontario, this is going for $4.51 a pound Canadian. It has gone down to about 30 cents, so it will, in my opinion, go up soon. So I have actually been holding on to this copper. This first spool, I had 2 pounds and 8 ounces, which would give me $11.05. The second spool was 2 pounds, 6 ounces, which would give me $10.50. So $21.55 in an hour from this. So if I was to do this for 8 hours straight, you know, I'm looking at $168. So $168, that's not a bad amount payoff. It almost pays for this wire stripper. As I said, it was $199. That is also given that you have 8 hours of wire here. I do have, as I said, a lot of wire to go through. I think I weighed it in my last video. I actually had 47 pounds of Romex unstripped. So going to lose a couple pounds from the coating. Here, if I was to look at this, this doesn't weigh a lot at all. Just going to see if I can even put a little bit on this, but very, very light. This is 1 pound right there. So probably got 1 pound and 3 ounces right there. The outer coating, add another probably half a pound. So almost probably 1.5 pounds of, not even, of coating or waste. So lots of wire here for sure. Hopefully that answered the question. Again, if I was to do this straight, $168 just from this Romex. Okay, but there are a lot of factors you have to take into consideration. Make sure you sort your wire. Make sure you know if a wire stripper is right for you, as well as go shopping for different types. Don't just settle on a wire stripper because I'm recommending it. There are different options for sure, definitely cheaper ones, but make sure you can make up the cost of this with the wire that you have. So hopefully that answered those questions. Please continue asking away. I will do my best to answer what I can. Please comment down below, like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Tin Man out.